can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like $100,000.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs like the founders of Hint Water, RX Bars, P90X, Atari, and many more, and how they overcome big challenges in life and business. Our sponsor today is Rise25.com, which I co-founded with my business partner, John Corcoran. Rise25, we host in-person VIP events and masterminds for top entrepreneurs all over the country, including many in the e-commerce industry. We hosted them in Chicago, Austin, Santa Barbara, San Diego, New York, Sonoma, and others across the country. We just got back from Las Vegas. And so if you see yourself in the value of immersing yourself with other top entrepreneurs to connect, check out Rise25 and ask us where our next event's going to be. I also want to do a thank you shout out to Azrael Ratz, who hails all the way from Israel, for introducing me to today's awesome guest. Azrael helps companies find their ideal audiences on Facebook and create more sales. And he can be found at Ratz Pack Media, not like Frank Sinatra Ratz Pack, but his last name, RATZ Pack Media. Today I'm very excited because you'll see at the end of the intro, I've been waiting for weeks for this special after intro. But today, you'll see what I mean in a second. But today we have Habib Salo, CEO of Young Nails, that's been serving the nail care industry for over 20 years. Habib and Greg, Habib's older brother, run the business, and their mom decided to start her own business at the ripe age of 49. And she had a passion for the nail industry, and they did everything in their power to support her. And it's interesting because Greg, your older brother, became a licensed nail technician after switching gears from what I would visualize the opposite of that, which is firefighters training. That's right. The manliest man type of people work and going to a licensed nail technician. So it's not what I would expect. And you took a detour from medical school and a life in music to do this. And for anyone, Young Nails is a professional nail care manufacturing company exporting to over 40 countries worldwide and distributing domestically to over 3,000 stores. Habib, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having us.
What was the intro after the intro?
What was the what? I'm sorry?
The nails. I need the intro. The intro I need you doing about the nails.
So here's the thing. There's like three different intros. There's the nail school, which is the same one that I do every single time. And then there's our biz talks that we do that are also right now on the Biz Talk, and then I do right now on Nail School, which has become this thing that our customers now will like call and see me, and they're basically hitting me with the intro every single time.
What is it? Tell me. Yeah.
Basically, before every intro, I say the same thing, which is, we're going to explore how to apply nail polish on the nails right now on Nail School. And they literally will walk up to me at shows and events and just walk up to my face and start saying the intro before we get into the videos, which is really funny. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool.
So, we were talking before we started about reinventing yourselves. So talk about that for a second.
Yeah, we've had to completely reinvent ourselves as a company, and that started about 18 months ago, Jeremy. We saw that our market was changing, not only our market, but just how communication happens today. We saw that changing. We wanted to jump on it. We were doing a ton of traditional print, a ton of traditional types of marketing, trade shows, mailers, and honestly, our business had plateaued, and we hit a wall. So I myself and my brother were having a lot of conversations about moving to social, and we were on social, but not really aggressive on social. So we took the leap of faith of just doing it.
What were you seeing in the trends that you had to switch at the time?
the first thing was like attendance in trade shows was completely down. So we would go to these events, and this was the number one way that we actually built our business in the late 90s and early 2000. So we saw attendance was down, revenue was down. The trade shows were telling us, oh no, everything's fine. Hey, don't worry about it. You're good. But obviously sales were down, and just the traffic, you'd look in the aisles and it was like, there's nobody here. And what we started hearing from a lot of our clients was, well, there's no reason to go anymore because if you guys are going to launch a product, we see it on Facebook. If you guys are going to, do some type of event, a company's going to do an event, we'll go to Facebook or Instagram. And we were doing a lot of like instructional videos on YouTube. And so they say, well, if we want to learn a new technique, we know you guys are going to launch it on YouTube. And so we were like, okay, ding, 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 there's something here. And that's us just doing social kind of like passively. Yeah. We weren't hardcore or aggressive. So
you didn't have a strategy for it. You were just doing it because, education purposes and here and there, but you didn't have a kind of a strategy for it.
That's exactly right. It was more of, we know we have to be on social because people are on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and that's why we did it. But like you said, not as a strategy. It was not part of our this is how we're gonna really take it to the next level. So correct.
So what's worked and not worked on social? I've watched a bunch of videos. Everyone should check out tell people your YouTube channel so they can check it out.
So our YouTube channel is Young Nails Inc. That's nails like fingernails. Some people hear it wrong over audio. They'll think it's males as in us dudes, but it's not fingernails. Young Nails Inc. Actually, all of our handles, Instagram, Facebook, everything is Young Nails Inc. They can check that out. What's worked and what has not worked, that is we're still figuring out what's working, but the best thing that I can say, especially on YouTube, has been putting in volume of hours to figure out just one slight, getting a grain of information requires months and months and months of shooting, editing, cutting. Shooting,
you guys are doing awesome. If you see me looking over here, I have your videos pulled up over here. But you have at the time over 140,000 subscribers.
We do, and
good for you.
That's
awesome.
Thank you very much. We're still pounding away at it. I think for us, what's worked ultimately has been learning how to really be transparent. This is the biggest thing I can say for us is we're truly utilizing YouTube and Facebook and Instagram as a way for people to see inside of our business. Yeah.
It's funny. You and your brother have a funny dynamic because, I don't know, he was doing I have two daughters and I never thought I'd be, they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, I'm watching people doing people's nails.
So funny.
And but your brother is doing someone's nails, and he kind of does this thing with his hands, and you're like, you look like you're greedy, and you guys have a funny dynamic,
Yeah, honestly, we screw around all the time. We're constantly messing around, and even at our company, that's part of the company culture is this looseness, and but that's us.
I'm just curious because, obviously every video you put out, you put a lot of time, effort, like you said, even if it's a 5-minute clip, so much time, effort, energy, planning goes into it. You want everyone to hit every single video to hit out of the park. So I'm wondering, when I'm looking on there, which one was a complete surprise? It just, had a ton of views, and which one you're like, this is going to be our next, 100K video. I'm looking at one, there's, a powder coating system that has 108,000 views on it. So how do you explain some of the ones that took off and then maybe some of the ones that didn't?
That is a great question. And this is...
You're going to say I have no idea.
There's part of it...
162,000 views on one of these.
Here's the deal. We've actually tried planning to create a video that, let's create something that we think is going to get all these views, and it just flops. Like
815,000 views on this other one.
Yeah, there's the snake skin. That's one of that was an older. I think that was in like 4 or 5 years ago. I think that was a while ago. Yeah. And those were the days when YouTube was for sure a little more, I don't want to say easy, it's never easy, but it was easier to reach an audience and to get those kind of views. Like today, it's so much harder. But honestly, what we do is we look at, through our Instagram, we get a lot of information as to like what looks are kind of hot and what looks are not. And that helps to kind of guide us on.
So you kind of look on Instagram, like the overall strategy, you kind of look to see what's trending, what's hot, and then you want to create a video on what's trending.
That's exactly correct. We try to do that. So there's two things. We look at what's trending in the market and try to create something. And then we take our experience and our knowledge and say, hey, we think this would be good for the market. Let's give it a shot. So one is more like, data driven, and another is more like creative driven and just based off our experience. And that's honestly how it is. We walk in the door and it's like cameras flip on, and we want to capture our personalities. That's the biggest thing. And the culture of our company is number one. And we want it to be a little more raw, which is why you see things like when my brother's rubbing his hands and I'm like, dude, you're looking greedy, bro. Just these little comments and that's how we talk to each other, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And that's kind of the big, more than anything, that's what we want to capture is like our day-to-day, our interaction. We want that transparency and for people to feel like they're really a part of the company. They're experiencing how we talk to each other every single day.
So screwing around. I love it. And what's your production schedule? Like, how many videos do you want to produce per week or per month?
We do 5 videos a week. So Monday and Wednesdays at 8 a.m., we launch the vlogs. On Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., we do what's called the Biz Talk. It's more on the business side of the nail industry. And then on Thursday and Friday at around noon, like today at around between noon and 1, we launch a more hardcore instructional video. Those are the nail schools, which is all technique and like how gets into
That's every week.
Every single week.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, I don't sleep much these days.
So is your brother doing most of the instructor? Who's doing the instructional ones?
He does the instructionals. Exactly. So I shoot everything. So I'm shooting all the videos and I'm editing myself all the videos. But he does the hardcore instructionals, and then myself, and then we have our director of education. She does the business talks with me on Tuesdays, and then Mondays and Wednesdays, it's all of us on the vlogs. And then we have our Instagram, which we're pumping out 3 to 4 videos a day, plus 4 to 5 stories a day. We're on Snapchat. Wow. We're on Facebook. We do Facebook Live once a week. Instagram Live once a week. We rip everything, put it on a podcast. It's not a proper podcast at this point. We're still trying to develop that. It's hard to think how are we going to get a podcast with nails, which is the challenge, but we're working through
some suggestions.
I would love to hear them.
It's also if your audience is listening to podcasts too. I guess you could just put them on your site. You don't have to do it as a formal podcast like on iTunes or something.
Right, exactly. That's probably a good way to start. Absolutely.
Who is your audience? Is it more younger, older, both?
Yeah, very, very good question. Right now, it's between 18 and 35. That's our audience that is consuming, I'll say. And at the same time, that's kind of who we're targeting, is probably that audience. We have an existing customer base, probably in the, it ranges from I would say 35 up to 60 years old, or nail technicians. But we're really,
that's what I was going to say, because going from wholesale and salons, that's going to be older crowd.
It is an older crowd. It is absolutely. And we're a little bit older ourselves. I'm 44. My brother's 46.
You look about 28.
Thank you very much, man.
Before we started, I was watching the videos, and I'm like, 20 years? This guy looks about 20 years old. Was he 2? His mom was having to do nails when he was 3 years old. What's going on here?
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so we are looking to, connect, I would say with the consumer at this point. Majority of our connections in business has been B2B. It's been to salons. And so today, we're through our social media, we're trying to, build that awareness and that consumer awareness of our brand.
Talk about the evolution of the marketing a little bit, like you're saying. So early on, it was more, well, I'll reverse because it's really interesting how this whole thing got started and how your mom actually started it. But we'll talk about that in a second. But the wholesale piece, you said more trade shows and salons. How did you get into all these salons?
So dealing with the salons, it honestly was through our trade shows. That's how we built it.
Is it very fragmented? I feel like it's a very fragmented industry. Like everyone kind of has, it's not like a conglomerate of salons. Like this person has this one. They're all kind of independent. So I would think it'd be hard to kind of get into all these places.
That is a accurate observation. It's very fragmented to the point. It's funny. We just had a meeting this week discussing how fragmented the B2B side of our industry is. And what you said is correct. It's majority what we call their booth renters. So what they do is the salon owner owns the space, and it's almost like a real estate game more than anything. And what the salon owner will do is rent out the chairs, and that's really his or her business, the salon business, the majority. And then nail technicians or hairstylists will rent the chair or the space, and they run their own businesses. So they're like individual owners.
It's even more fragmented than I thought.
It's very fragmented. So it's interesting. There hasn't been a lot of salon chains that have been successful. It's the turnover also with nail technicians in a salon, because they can move around a lot. There's a lot of turnover. So that's the biggest challenge. You have to have a license to actually do services. And so that's a small pool right there to pick from. But it's very fragmented. It is. So how do you market? How do you reach all these individuals? Back in the day, it was through trade shows. We would literally shake hands, meet individual nail technicians and salon owners, and make a connection that way. And that's how we built our business, was one nail technician. That used to be our statement. We used to say it's one nail technician at a time. It's shaking one hand at a time. And then so the transition into social, it's way more efficient, obviously, because we can reach, 10,000, 20,000 nail technicians. Even though it's fragmented, we can hit them all at the same time through social, which is really nice, much more efficient.
So I want to eventually get into your brother and you, but I want to rewind. Your dad's working 2 jobs.
Yeah. He
paid off the house.
Yep.
And your mom does what?
My mom calls me from college in 1992, and I'm about an hour away, and she's like, "Hey, I need you to come down and sign some papers for me." Sure, Mom, no problem. I have no idea what she, sign some papers. I'm 18 years old. I show up at her office, and she's like, "Okay, I need you to, write your dad's signature." I'm like, "Okay, sure." He's not here. So I'm signing my dad's name. This is 27 years ago, whatever it is, signing my dad's name. And she's like, "Okay, thank you." And I'm like, "What's that for?" She's like, "Well, we just refinanced the house and we're pulling all the equity out for my business." And I was like, "Oh my God, what did I just do?" I just committed a freaking crime. Eventually my dad agreed to it later as he found out. He was like, "Yeah, it's okay." But he had no idea. My mom did this, and she believed in it so deeply. She really believed in it. And
what was the original idea for the business? Because it didn't start off at nails, right?
Correct. It started off as what was called a post office express, and it's basically like a UPS store today, before UPS bought all these out. So she owned that, and her idea was to build that business and to grow it out. Gentleman walked in, saw that she had this huge space, and he wanted to rent the back part of her business out. So he said, "Hey, I manufacture these nail kits for cosmetology schools. Let me rent out the back part. I can, sublease it to me. And she was like, great idea. I love that. And by the way, what are you doing? And he took her through what he does. I sell these kits to nail schools, and every 6 weeks they have a new class coming in, which means new kits. My mom was like, I want in. It wasn't even like a question. This complete stranger, she's like, I want to partner with you. And this guy was like, okay, let's do it. And that's how she got into the business. I mean, yeah, very aggressive, very, it's just in her.
So was your mom born here or somewhere else?
No, she was born in Seoul, Korea. She came to the United States in 1978, and through her company, and saw an opportunity came to Los Angeles, met my dad. Her car broke down. My dad fixed her car, and instead of
very chivalrous.
Very chivalrous, yes. But he did request, you don't have to pay me for the car, but you have to let me take you out to lunch. And she said yes, and that's how they met. Thank God. And that all worked out. And then she ended up bringing her whole entire family from Korea to Southern California. She was responsible for bringing everybody. And even at that time, like marrying outside of her culture was like a really.
Your dad is not Korean.
No, my dad's Palestinian. He came here in 1977, and also when he met my mom, his side of the family was like, "What are you doing? Like, we don't, both my parents were kind of like rebels. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, we don't care about our, we love each other, so screw everybody." And I love that. That was for me, it's like I like that my parents both. They're very independent in their decision making, and like we're not just going to go along with what you think. We're gonna pull the trigger and do what we feel. So like my brother and I are this like bizarre, insane mix. The family parties.
How did your dad find out finally that she had basically drawn all the equity out of the house?
Yeah, so my mom handled all the finances, and he stayed out of the finances. So he tried. My mom basically said that she lived at she worked at a real estate company, and so he would call, and he would always try to track her down. She gave him this number. My dad worked like 15 hours a day, so he was never home, and he got very suspicious. Like, why is she never at this location? And what would happen is, it was a number that now I remember, it was a number my mom gave him that was her friend that worked at a real estate. And it was always like, Young's not here. Let me have her call you back. And then she would call my mom and say, hey, your husband called. Call him. So very quickly he figured out something is up. And finally he just showed up at their business one day. He this wasn't very long after. He showed up and was like, what is this? And so the cat was out of the bag. It was ugly.
Why do you think she didn't tell him? Like, she was worried that he would say no, or
she knew he would say no. It wasn't even a question. And my dad, there's no way he would have agreed to it. My mom, she's like, I want to do this, and nobody's going to stop me. She just has that thing of like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to figure out, how to get it done, whatever I need to do.
Yeah. What did your dad do? Is he was more conservative?
Very, very conservative, very traditional, like just hardworking, conservative. Let's just pay this off. I don't want, like, very risk averse. Yeah. And my mom is literally 180 degrees from that, like complete freaking opposite. And he was against it for many years. He was like, this is not working. And I mean, he wasn't wrong. It wasn't working in the beginning. It took a lot of time and a lot of pain, like real deep pain to, get through this stuff.
Just because the kits weren't selling as fast as people thought?
That, and also there were a lot, like, things, like their partner, this guy that my mom partnered with, he ended up, he was basically telling customers, make your checks out to me, to his name. and he was cashing the checks, so he was like stealing. They had to deal with that. There was a whole issue of, there was a lot of just, they tried things that didn't work out, and that cost money, and they had no money. And so my mom started hitting up, her family for credit card. Let me borrow your credit card. Let me borrow money, getting loans from family, just things that didn't work out. And the debt kept on accumulating year after year, to the point where, the house was getting foreclosed on. I mean, we had
scary stuff.
We had so much debt, Jeremy. Unless you've been through that kind of financial pain and stress, it's just awful. It's really, and like, you have to deal with it every day. It's really, really hard. It is like really, really hard.
It's one of the foundations, right? I mean, food, water, shelter, right? And you're losing those foundational things. You can't think of anything like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can't think of anything else if those things aren't fulfilled at the bottom, I imagine.
110%. And at the same time, like, my parents' dynamic is not very good because of this financial stress. So there's like arguing going on daily. It was awful. I promised, I was like, I will never join the family business. Never, ever. Because
whenever anyone says never, that's when it happens, right?
It's like, welcome. You might as well say
you
that
have
to
arrived.
them, right? Yeah, exactly.
How much of this were they sharing with you? What point did they bring you into the conversation?
So I knew everything. I mean, at this time, I was substitute teaching to support my music career, and I was literally giving half of my money to my mom and my brother because there was no money coming in. So,
what was your music career? What were you doing?
What's that?
What were you doing in music?
I'm a drummer.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played in a while, but I was basically playing in like multiple
bands. Put that
bands.
in the next vlog.
I know, I need to. Exactly. I need to get that out there for sure. It was a lot. It was a great. Actually, it changed. It was a big thing for me, like going out on my own and learning to sort of navigate in the real world of music. Trying to make it. But yeah, so I was doing that and supporting them as much as I could. So I knew everything that was going on with their business. It got to a point where for me, I was like, I didn't want to get involved. I did not want to get involved, but I was the only one that had good credit. My mom and my brother's credit was completely shot, and they were kind of looking at me a little bit like, hey, you got credit cards.
You're sleeping with your wallet really close.
Yeah, like at my heart, like do not like setting traps around my bed, and I got to a point, honestly, where I was like, I have to try something, right? Because it was miserable. So, and I wanted to help my family if I could.
It's a really, really difficult situation.
It's a very difficult situation.
You're like, I want to follow my dream if it's a musician, but I am obligated to my family to help them. It's
right. That's it in a nutshell. For me, it was like, I have to try. Like, my parents have been there for me, right? My dad, paid for my college education and turned wrenches and worked his butt off. I have to try something. So I did. At that point, this was in 2000. I was like, hey, let me come in. Let me see if I can help. And my brother and my mom were like, absolutely. Let's see if we can do this together. And a funny thing happened at that point. Well, first of all, I went to the bank and unloaded my credit cards. That's the first thing, which was about $60,000, like 22% interest, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was painful, but we didn't have a choice. So I was now, officially in the business. And then
it's like the mafia.
Yeah, it is. It's like 22%. I mean, it's like insane, but that's what it was for cash advance at the time. And a really interesting thing happened, which was my brother, my mom, and I sat down and we had an honest discussion of, okay, what are we good at here? I know I can bring discipline to the table, and I'm like, I'm obsessive, compulsive, insanely hardworking. So let me handle just the inside of the business.
Like
and
the
then
operations.
the operations, right. I can get really anal and kind of crazy about it. And then my mom is amazing with relationships. And so we had her on the purchasing side, sourcing. And then my brother, phenomenal salesperson. And so we said to my brother, don't worry about anything, just focus on bringing in money. And it was a divide and conquer kind of a vibe. And right there with the three of us, working together with that efficiency, we started to see things very slowly turn. And it took us 5 years from that point, 5 years to get out of debt.
Wow.
And then from there, we started to see things grow. But that was kind of it took 8 years to, where we were able to divide responsibilities, and then another 5 to get back to even. So 13 years from the start of the business to get to where we started, which was no debt. Just crazy.
That's amazing, Habib. So in the 13 years, where did you see a inflection point, a traction point where you're like, yeah, like this is going where we want? Not a point where like, okay, you're slowly trudging along. What was that point where I see sort of a light at the end here? You know? I don't know if you get a big account or you get, something that fuels that.
Yeah. You know what? When I first started, we had a large account that just kind of signed on with us. So the timing was really good. And that was a result of my mom. She landed this account. So that started to tweak, but we still had all this other debt to deal with. And I would say around 2 years in, so around 2002, we saw that we were very slowly paying our debt down, and we saw the sales very slowly starting to grow. And I would say about 2 years in, we were like, I think this can actually work. So 2 years, about the 10-year point from when we first started was when we saw that light. That's when we saw that light. That's
amazing.
Crazy.
And your brother, though, was in firefighters training.
He was. So this was when my mom, right when she started the business, which was around 92, he was going to fire technology school. And my mom called him up and was like, hey, I have this business opportunity. I just met this gentleman that walked into my postal, express. And she literally said, drop it, come down, talk to this guy. My brother talked to the guy. They went on a sales call and he converted. The guy sold 10 kits in 2 minutes. And my brother was like, I'm going to be rich in 2 years. So he dropped out of fire school, was like, I'm going to go where the money is. Didn't work out like that, but yeah, my brother's an athlete. I mean, he loves golf. He was a hardcore skier, mountain climber, nail tech, now, but a very, very talented guy, very talented.
So 13 years, that's what, always, it's a 10 years, overnight success after 10 years, 13 years, 20 years, whatever it is, because people only see what you're doing now. They don't see all the crap that you had to go through to get to where you are. But what was the next milestone? So that's a huge milestone, celebratory, getting out of a pile of debt and seeing everything grow. What was the next major milestone for you and the family?
The next major milestone for us, we were looking at that time at, we were looking at revenue. So the first one was breaking the $1 million sales mark. That was and we had done that in that on the way to paying off our debt. Then it was can we hit $2 million in revenue? Can we double the size of the business? After that point, when we cracked the 2 million, we were almost I think we're good. And then things just started to get crazy. It just started to the growth at that time, within a 5-year period, it was just hyper growth. It just started going, absolutely crazy. But I would think the first one was like obviously getting out of debt, but the $1 million mark in revenue was huge for us. But then after that, it was like, can we get to 2? And then after that, it was like, sky's the limit, maybe.
Why do you think that is? Was it reorders from all the relationships that were coming in, or was it a new strategy?
It was not a new strategy. It was, what happened was our strategy, we could not penetrate the US market because it was so competitive and we did not have the money. So we looked outside of the US and we started to do trade shows where there was a big international presence. So we started going to those trade shows. We started picking up international accounts where our competitors were not, and where we actually had a fighting chance of gaining market share in those countries where they just didn't have a huge presence. So we started building internationally, like throughout Europe. And then once we grew that business, we started to market and advertise domestically. And then once we started to kind of grow the US market, that's where we just saw things like kind of get crazy.
Amazing. So talk about some of the most popular, from a product line standpoint and product development. What because obviously we're not talking digital goods. You have to pay for goods to ship them out. So there's a big capital influx needed. Where do you start? What did you have you had the kits first. What was the next kind of iteration? Because if you go on your site, there's a lot of different types of products.
Yeah. So the school business and the kits, like you said, that was the beginning. And then it got to a point where my brother was like, we have to have our own brand, like, not just kits anymore, but we need our own brand so we can market to salons. And so he started Young Nails. This was in 98 or 99, I think. Basically,
it's a great name. I mean, it's your mom's name, and it goes obviously well with, because people want young.
Right.
Yeah.
Nails. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And like the vibe of our company, we always say we're like a bunch of 5-year-olds here almost, screwing around. And there's a young, like, we have that sort of like vibe. So it does work out. And that was where the product development really took a turn. He started building out these real salon products. And that then opened up the market for us to start connecting with salons versus just schools. And then so we had like our acrylics and gels, like these are like your traditional nail enhancements. We've had that for many years. And then in 2013, we decided to get into the nail polish business. Shockingly, we never had a nail polish. We got into the nail polish game. The reason why we waited there for so long was because nail polish is so competitive. You're dealing with, these
huge brands, iconic brands.
That's right, huge iconic brands, and to compete in that market, it can be very challenging. So we wanted to wait until we were ready, and we can give ourselves a fighting chance of competing. And that was the big one, was nail lacquer in 2013, which is our Young Nails caption nail polish.
What's some of the favorite, most popular products that people can get? And by the way, anyone can check their stuff at youngnails.com. It's NAILS, not nails, but fingernails.com. Exactly. But yeah.
Our number one product is a product that is called Protein Bond. It's in a little tiny bottle, and it makes everything stay on the nails. So you can use it with nail polish, you can use it with gels, or you can use it with like the hardcore acrylic enhancements as well. And it is our number one selling product, period. It just, it's like a staple.
Is there a common use case for it? Like they mostly use it for, keeping something on, or what do people use it for?
That's really it right there, Jeremy. It's a requirement to give the best bonding to whatever enhancement you're putting on the nail. So if you're putting acrylic on or gel or nail polish, you got to put Protein Bond to make sure it's going to stay on.
Yeah, so it's under nail preps and treatments.
That's it. That's exactly it. Correct.
Do people ever use it for medical reasons, like if they split their nails, or they have kind of fragile nails, or no? Is it more for sticking?
it really is more just for the bonding.
Got it.
There are products out there. We don't really have anything once you start getting into those types of issues and challenges. But there are products out there, that work well for those challenges.
So you're at the point where you guys are doing really well.
Correct.
And you have now kind of gone in, from wholesale salon and then increased to consumer. Where is it next? What's the future?
That's a great question. The future for us is we want to connect with the consumer. We want to grow the brand. We want to have more consumer awareness. I mean, straight up, that's really what we want to do. We've connected with the professional, and we have a great relationship with the professionals in salons all around the world. We want to take it to that next step of really connecting with the consumer and having them know who we are and our brand, and ultimately just bringing some energy and excitement to the nail category. The nail, nails it's become kind of commoditized in the last 4 years. The big brands that were in the market, they sold out to these, huge conglomerates. And those conglomerates took the brands and kind of just sucked the life out of them, to be honest with you. So we want to bring fun and energy and excitement back into the nail category. We want people to when they think of nails, to instead of oh, it's just a color. I mean, ultimately to connect with us and who are those two insane, crazy brothers in nail, but to bring them.
I'm sure you stick out a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit, exactly. But we want to bring some excitement into it. Honestly, there's no reason it has to be, boring and where it is today. It's just, there's no life in it. And we're kind of tired of that. So we know we can bring that. And on top of that, here's what the funniest part is. We love sports. We love, I love cars. I love sports. I love nails, right? And so we can talk sports, we can all the manly stuff, right? We can talk all that stuff. And then I can sit down with the biggest beauty influencer in the world and talk nails. And probably not just talk nails, but know way, way more than any top beauty influencer in the world. I know more than probably most of them, hands down, because we get into the real chemistry of it and why something works and why it doesn't. And so
yeah, I mean, when you manufacture it, what about the challenges of that piece? I mean, there's business challenges of sales, but then you're also manufacturing.
We are manufacturing. We're one of the few companies. So most nail polish brands in the market, most beauty products in the market, they're all outsourced. Everything, there's these companies that will make any beauty product you want, including nail polish, have it delivered to your door. You work with them to create the formula. We do all that here. So we've got our chemists and we manufacture, we assemble, fill. We've got the automated machines here that can pump out, 6,000 bottles a minute. But all that's done on site, and it's hard. It is like you said, the challenges associated with that are never ending. It's a lot of people ask, why do we do it? What's the point? Why don't you just outsource it? And we like having the control of our quality control is so freaking important to us. Yeah. Every single SKU we make, literally, it is checked. It is checked, and it has to be approved no matter what. So that's
how do you decide what to produce next? Because you guys are innovating. You're looking at the trends. How do you decide what's next?
Yeah, so that it is a real kind of two-part. It's our pulse on the market. So through social, this is why I love and we love social here. it connects us with what is going on right now in the market. And we can see, like, whether that's color or nail styles or nail art, we get an immediate feel. So that helps to drive innovation there. But also, like, having that pulse on the market, we can start to dip into our experience and say, you know what, with the way things are going right now, I'm pretty sure product X that I've had on my mind for a few years is going to do really well here. And so that's how we go about it. And it's literally daily. Like, we are talking about this every single day about new products, new innovations that we can bring to market. So we're constantly, as a small company, we can move really quickly. So we're constantly launching new products all the time, which is a lot of fun.
How did you meet Azrael?
So I attended an amazing seminar in New York City. It's VaynerMedia does a seminar called 4Ds, and if you consume any of Gary V's content, Gary Vaynerchuk's content, you're probably familiar with 4Ds. I was driving on the freeway one day and I was listening to his podcast, and I'm like, you know what, I got to go check this out. I went out there. It was amazing. And I had an opportunity to talk with, when you're out there, you start to connect with a lot of his team, which is, they're just amazing people. And one of the people on his team, was kind of checking out our content and was like, hey, you guys could probably use a Facebook ads manager. What are you doing on Facebook? And I was kind of showing him. He's like, oh, you guys definitely need a Facebook ads manager. And so I was like, excuse me, well, where do I start? He's like, hold on. And he literally just goes on and tweets it out. Have this nail company looking for a Facebook ads manager. There's all these responses. I saw Azrael. He's one of the first people that was on there. He responded. I hit him up and we just connected, man. We had a great connection. And he coincidentally came down to San Diego for a conference he was speaking at. I'm in LA. I drove down there. We met. We really hit it off. So we're looking to start working with him very, very soon. Super excited about that.
What else did you learn from the VaynerMedia mini conference?
Oh, my God. This is what I learned. Like, the first thing that I learned was that when you watch Gary, you don't realize, like, he's amazing. Like, he is, like, unbelievably amazing. But what's more amazing is the people that work with him on his team. They're so incredibly talented and very smart, but the biggest thing is that they're so nice. They're so nice. So when you go out there for the 4Ds, they're there to, like, really help you and connect with you and look at your business and give you some real, like, direction as to what to do. So then that, once you experience that, your perspective of, like, Gary V and who he is completely changes. You're like, he's much more than even what we see on his content. Way more.
Nice.
But, incredible team. Yeah, they really look to help brands. It was phenomenal.
So, first of all, Habib, I want to thank you. This has been awesome and very vulnerable with what has gone on, right? This is like really treacherous, deep stuff that we've talked about. 100%. And so I appreciate you sharing. And everyone should check out youngnails.com. And I always ask at the end on Inspired Insider what has been a low moment, and then what on the flip side has been a proud moment, because I find the low moments is kind of what shape our strengthen us for the next step.
I love that question. I actually just got goosebumps as you asked that. And I would say very recently, as much as, about just over a year ago, we were at a point, I would say 18 months ago, we were at a point where we just plateaued. And honestly, I was like at a burnout. I was like, I don't know what else we can do to, like, grow our dang business, just putting all this effort in. And then starting on the social media path, producing content at the beginning of that phase of producing content hit another low point, because all of it we were getting hammered by people. Like, what are you guys doing? What is this garbage? And then the turning point was slowly like looking at what we're doing, making little tweaks. 12 months later today, it's like we're seeing all of this working now. And it's like, it was just such a hard transition, Jeremy. It was so hard because we were so used to doing
because it's customer
print
facing. Is that why?
It like you have to be transparent. It's directly looking at your customers, and it's opening up yourself on camera, who you are. You're like opening your whole life to, and doing that and having people like kind of hammer you, like slam you, like, jeez, who are you? Who is this? And it was hard. Like I really had to reinvent myself, and we had to reinvent our company. But now, after 12 months of that and making tweaks, looking at what's not working, what's working, optimizing, looking at what's not working, what's working, optimizing, continuing on that path, testing. Now it's like we're seeing this change take place with our company and our organization, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So that's a recent one that I can say, and relevant to people that may question, should they make this change onto doing a podcast or doing social or anything like that? I'm telling you, yes. And it's going to take time to make that transition because it's hard, because you have to learn. Yeah. But 1000%, it's like we're on the right path now, yeah, and it feels good. I
think you had much harder times than that, so it was probably easier to make that transition, I imagine.
I can handle it. That's the thing, because we've been through such gnarliness in our growth and development as a company, but it's still hard. It's still hard, right? Like it's a recent hard that I can identify with. Yeah, nothing compares to the financial difficulties way back. Like nothing. There's nothing worse than that. But something that's relevant to today and what we did recently, I would say that's it.
What drives you now to keep going? Because, like you said, when you say, oh, we reached 2 million, oh, we're good, right? Yeah. But something keeps driving you further. Is it running from, it's either running towards something or running away.
From something, yeah.
What is driving you now? Because, you can become complacent, be like, yeah, the social thing's cool. We don't have to you have a rigorous strategy for social media, right?
Yeah, 100. Yeah,
so,
yeah, very.
And that's on top of everything else you have to do. So it's not like you're just doing that all day. But
correct.
What's driving you now to just?
Yeah, really good question. And this is the answer for me, is I've come to realize, and it took me a while to figure this out about myself, that I like when things are insane and nonstop. That's truly, and I've been like this my whole life, but it's only recently that I've come to accept, at 44 years old, that I've finally accepted who I am as a person, that I like that. And it's funny, when we started doing, we started out with 2 videos a week, okay, a year ago. And then we kind of got that down, and then we added a video. And I literally had a conversation with my art director as well as our director of education. I said, I don't like this, because now it's like, it's kind of automatic. I'm like, no. Yeah. Like, so we added
like
2
pressure
more
makes
videos
type of thing. You got.
That's right.
Your strength, your muscle for that built up, and you were fine with it. So you wanted to add more.
I want to add more. And I realize I like working the amount of I'm literally working 15 hours a day. Thank God I have my wife. She really is amazing. She knows who I am, but that's the driver. Is I love figuring things out. I'm just a naturally curious person, and it's like, how do we make this social thing work? How can we grow into the consumer market, going from the professional market in nails? I'm genuinely curious about how you make that transition and putting the pieces together to figure out how to do it. And that's what it is. It's my curiosity that it will always be there. And I really do love the grind every single day. Like, I just do. So,
what role does your mom play now?
She's more of, she does purchasing still because she is still good at it, but she'll come in for 2 hours, and she's got a team, and her team is amazing. They do an incredible job. She's got the relationships, but my mom is 70. She's going to be 75 years old. She comes in, she'll do her thing. If she wants to stay all day, she'll stay all day. If she doesn't feel like it and she wants to go down to the local casino and play some Keno, that's what she does too. She loves her Keno, man.
Well, Habib, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Everyone should check out youngnails.com. And then where else should they check out on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook?
You can go to Young Nails Inc. on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, all of them.
Cool. Check it out. These guys are funny. And nails, right?
Nails. Absolutely.
Thanks, Habib.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Pleasure. So what's the first thing you need when you start a business? You need money. My father had worked 2 jobs fixing cars for a good part of his life already. Basically had our house virtually paid off. My mom opens up a line of credit on the home and pulls all the equity out of the house and invests in the business. Here's the thing. My dad had no idea. Yes, they're still together today. They're still together. Now, I'm not saying that this is how every business should get started, but it's how ours got started. So, with that money, my mom basically, she was able to take on a new lease at a warehouse location. At that time, it's about 1,800 square feet, with an office in the front and a warehouse in the back, so that we could properly start manufacturing cosmetology kits. I remember very, very, very clearly during that time a feeling of uneasiness and nervousness, because I knew my mom had started in something. She had no experience in the industry. She had no business experience. But one thing that woman had was a shitload of guts. You want to talk about courage? She's the most courageous person I've ever met in my life. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to my reading. So you're slacking?
Slacking, totally slacker.
Which one's mine?
This is mine. I've already made Greg's, and this is yours.
Did you understand?
Would you like some coffee? Because I actually don't mind getting it for you.
No.
Them? Yes.
No.
You? No.
Yesterday.
The real boss. I will make the real boss.
Which one's my coffee?
Yeah. There you go, sir.
Yeah, so see, if you want to do something, you want it done right,
Oh,
do it
just
yourself.
he drinks all cream, not a coffee.
I could have just put coffee in this for you.
Yeah.
gotta do it yourself.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, you took offer from my job. I have to take offer from it. How much are you going to pay me?
How did you start the business?
Okay, so you guys finished high school. So I tried to keep myself busy because I was a full-time mother. And since you guys went to college, I have nothing to do. So I said...
So you're bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like now.
Yeah.
So I opened the mailbox, etc., like UPS stores.
Right.
And then one day, one of the customer walked in. He has full of nail products, and they showed to me, "Can you let me use corner of your office?" I told him, "Yeah." So when he opened it, I look at it. It was full of nail products. I say, "What are you doing?" He says, "This is a nail business. If you get into it, you're gonna make millions of dollars." So, how much?
Fast,
really fast.
Right.
So I couldn't pay the rent regularly. So this is a chance I can really pay the rent on time.
So your existing business of mailboxes, etc., was struggling. This guy came in, offered a proposal to partner with him to make cosmetology kits.
Yes.
And you thought it could be a good way to pay your rent on the building.
Right. That's right. So we started buying the products. I told him, no problem, we go 50-50. And you use my office. I didn't tell my husband what I'm doing.
You didn't tell your husband what you were doing?
Yeah, I didn't tell him. I just continue. One day I'm going to make so much money so he doesn't have to worry. But he found out because all the creditors keeps calling. And so he told me, "What are you doing?" So I opened the business. "Okay, let me come see what you're doing." And from that point, my debt was really my line of credit, house line of credit, plus all my credit card debt was so high. And sometimes they cut off my gas, so cut it off because I couldn't pay the bills.
I asked this question with all like curiosity, and sometimes I think about it. I really think about this, and it makes me... You were 49 years old, right?
Yeah.
So you have a dream, you're 49 years old, kids are out of the house. That most people would never think about starting a business at 49 years old. To a lot of people, it's crazy.
Yeah, but 49 years old, that's just a number. When you have a dream, doesn't matter what age, even 60, 70, you have a dream, you go for it, you're gonna reach it no matter what. Numbers doesn't mean anything. 49, 59.
But weren't you afraid that it was just gonna completely fail?
No, I never have any doubts. I'm gonna just go for it. Whatever it takes, I'm not gonna give it up. I'm still go whatever it is it takes. I never stop, even I'm 74 years old, and I started 49. Number doesn't mean anything.
I think what is interesting, you don't go back and forth thinking too much. You know you want to do it, you know you love it, and you go. And you just start doing it.
Yeah, still same thing. Did I have a chance? I'm still doing the same thing. Never change.
This is true.
You do the same thing.
Oh, for sure. I definitely
even your college time, you do the same thing. So you got the good blood like your mother.
Yeah. Give me a little boom.
All right.
Like that.
All right.
Thanks, Mom. By the way, this is Wilbert. He's very naughty. Say hi, Wee Wee. Say hi.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feel like 100 grand.